The pattern, a field guide for coherence. Foundation, why you're stuck and what actually works. You already know something is wrong. Maybe you can't name it yet. Maybe you've tried a dozen systems, read the books, followed the advice, and still ended up back where you started. Maybe you're angry at the world, at yourself, or at the gap between what you know you should do and what you actually do. Here's what nobody told you. You're not broken. You're misaligned. And misalignment isn't a character flaw. It's a structural problem with a structural solution. What coherence feels like, and what it doesn't. Close your eyes for a moment and remember a time when everything just worked. Not when life was easy, when it was clear, when you knew what mattered, when your actions matched your words, when you could look someone in the eye without flinching, when you went to bed tired but not ashamed. That wasn't chance. That was coherence. Now remember the opposite. When you said one thing and did another. When you knew you were lying, to others or yourself. When anxiety kept you up at night, not because of what might happen, but because of the gap between who you said you were and who you actually were. That wasn't weakness. That was incoherence. Your nervous system already knows the difference. It's been trying to tell you. The signal you've been ignoring. Your body is a prediction machine. Every moment, your brain generates expectations. What will happen next? How people will act? What the world will demand? When reality matches prediction, you feel calm. When reality contradicts it, you feel surprise, and surprise costs energy. A little surprise is fine. It's how you learn. But chronic surprise, when your predictions are constantly wrong, turns into suffering. Anxiety. You can't predict tomorrow, so your body stays braced for threat. Guilt. Your actions violated the values you claimed, and your system can't reconcile the contradiction. Shame. Your whole sense of self collapses. You can't even predict your own worth. Anger. The world violated what you believed to be fair, and the gap hasn't been repaired. These aren't just feelings. They're information, error signals from a system under strain. And the reason you're stuck is simple. You've been numbing the signal instead of fixing what's generating it. The lie that breaks both of you. Let's make it concrete. You lied to your partner about where you were last night. In the moment, it works. They believe you. Immediate problem solved. But now something costly begins. You have to track two realities. What happened and what you said. You have to predict their behavior based on false data. You have to monitor for contradiction. Your prediction of them destabilizes. Every conversation becomes a minefield. Every question a potential trap. This is what your body feels as anxiety. Not vague dread, but computational load. Your working memory is juggling parallel realities. Your prefrontal cortex is overclocked. Cortisol spikes because your body knows this can't last. And it gets worse. Their trust, the degree to which they can predict you, rely on you, model you accurately, drops. Even if they don't consciously know you lied, something feels off. The mutual information between you, the shared predictive model you built together, starts to decay. This is what they feel as distance. One lie. Two people's coherence damaged. Now multiply that across a relationship, a family, a community, a society. This is why morality isn't about following rules. It's about maintaining coherence across scales. And deception, no matter how justified, always increases entropy. Why good advice fails, the readiness problem. You've heard it all. Be more disciplined. Practice gratitude. Set boundaries. forgive and move on. Maybe you tried, maybe it didn't work, and maybe you blamed yourself. But here's what they didn't tell you. You can't apply advice you're not developmentally ready for. Imagine telling someone drowning in shame, someone who truly believes they're worthless, to practice self-compassion. It won't work. Not because they aren't trying hard enough, but because their system doesn't yet have the coherence capacity to hold that practice. Compassion requires a stable sense of self. If your self-concept is collapsing under shame, you don't have the foundation to be kind to that self. It's like trying to build a second story on a house with no frame. The shadow ladder, explored in depth later, maps these readiness states. Tier 1, shame to pride, stabilizing basic self-worth. You can't work on relationships yet because you don't have a stable self to bring to them. Tier 2, courage to reason, building agency and relational capacity. Now you can work on discipline, boundaries, and courage. Tier 3, love to peace, integrating across scales. Gratitude, compassion, and surrender now become coherent instead of performative. You can't skip rungs, not because you're forbidden to, but because the structure won't hold. If someone at rung 1, shame, tries to practice rung 11, love, they'll either perform it inauthentically, collapse under the weight, or use it to avoid the repair they actually need. That's why you failed before. Not because you're weak, but because you were given Tier 3 advice for a Tier 1 problem. The map you needed all along. Your system has always been trying to maintain coherence. Sometimes it succeeds, sometimes it fails. When it fails, you feel anxiety, future incoherence, guilt, moral incoherence, shame, self-incoherence, anger, social incoherence, confusion, cognitive incoherence. These aren't punishments, they're diagnostics. The pattern shows you where you are, what's breaking, what to adjust, and how to know it's working. It's not a path to perfection. It's a protocol for repair, the core insight that changes everything. Moral behavior isn't a rule you follow. It's what a coherent system naturally does to stay coherent. Truthfulness reduces the load of tracking multiple realities. Cooperation stabilizes long-term predictions in social space. Harm avoidance prevents injecting chaos into others' models. Promise-keeping aligns your past and future selves. Justice restores predictability when trust breaks. These aren't arbitrary virtues. They're the stable behaviors of systems optimizing for coherence across time and relationship. Every virtue in this guide, justice, responsibility, humility, mercy, discipline, integrity, reflection, striving, is a constraint preventing short-term gains that create long-term debt. You can lie and reduce friction, but you're compounding prediction error. You can exploit and profit, but you're destabilizing the environment that sustains you. You can avoid responsibility and feel lighter, but you're fragmenting the very self that acts. Virtues aren't commands. They're gradient constraints, guardrails that keep you from trading long-term coherence for short-term relief. What this guide will do and won't. This guide will show you how to locate your actual baseline, teach you to diagnose what's breaking in your coherence, give you concrete practices matched to your readiness, integrate ancient wisdom with modern neuroscience, and make the invisible structure visible. This guide will not guarantee instant relief, promise ease, tell you what choice to make, replace therapy or medication, or offer shortcuts that work against the long arc of your becoming. This isn't self-help, it's structural repair. And structural repair isn't comfortable, but it's honest. and it works. The weight you're about to choose. If you keep reading, you're choosing to see clearly. And once you see clearly, you're responsible. You can't unsee the gap between who you are and who you could be. You can't unhear the signals your body has been sending. You can't unknow the cost of incoherence. This isn't a book, it's a mirror. The person staring back isn't broken, only misaligned. The pattern offers the protocol to realign, but the walking is yours. And so is the world that changes because you did. A note on myth, math, and meaning. Throughout this guide, you'll hear 3 languages: story and myth, neuroscience and mathematics, and lived experience. We'll move between all 3, sometimes in the same breath. When we say lying increases divergence, we mean tracking the lie is exhausting and the gap between you grows. When we say Frodo carries the ring as a burden he didn't choose, we mean responsibility is thrust upon us, and coherence demands we carry what's ours. When we say your cortisol spikes because your prefrontal cortex is in overdrive, we mean your body knows before your mind that something's wrong. The pattern lives at the intersection of these languages. You are not just a machine. You are not just a story. You are not just a feeling. You are a system striving for coherence in an uncertain world. And that's enough to begin. Next, Part 1 introduces the coherence equation. Not abstract math, but the structure your nervous system already runs on. We'll make the invisible visible. For now, sit with this question. Where in my life do I feel the greatest prediction error right now? That's where the work begins. Chapter 1, the coherence equation. How order, chaos, and truth create meaning. You've already felt what coherence and incoherence are. Now we'll uncover the structure beneath them, the pattern your nervous system already runs on. Coherence isn't philosophy. It's physics applied to mind. It's how every living system stays stable while adapting to change. Your body does it. Your relationships do it. Civilizations do it too. This is the coherence equation. A model for why things fall apart and how they come back together. 1. The 3 domains. Every coherent system balances 3 domains: temporal, social, and environmental. Temporal coherence means your past, present, and future selves are aligned. You make promises and keep them. You build on what came before, instead of constantly burning it down. Social coherence means your words, actions, and roles are predictable to others. People can rely on you. You can rely on them. Trust becomes a shared map of expectation. Environmental coherence means you live within real limits. You adapt to what the world is, not what you wish it was. You conserve energy, resources, and attention. When all 3 stay aligned, the system thrives. When one breaks, disorder spreads through the rest. 2. The equation in motion. Every moment, your mind runs a loop. Predict arrow, act arrow, compare arrow, update. Prediction keeps you alive. Action tests your model. Comparison measures error. Updating restores coherence. When prediction error stays small, you feel peace. When it grows, you feel stress. If you ignore it long enough, stress becomes suffering. Mathematically, this is the same process used by all intelligent systems. Minimize error. Maximize stability. But for humans, it's not just about data, it's about meaning. The more your predictions match reality, the more your life feels true. The more they diverge, the more your world feels false. Third order, chaos, and the boundary between. Think of your life as a river between two banks. On one side is order, everything predictable and known. On the other is chaos, everything unpredictable and unknown. Too much order, and you suffocate in repetition. Too much chaos, and you drown in uncertainty. Coherence lives at the boundary where order and chaos meet. Your nervous system constantly adjusts that balance. Too much surprise, it retreats. Too much stagnation, it seeks novelty. This is why comfort eventually becomes anxiety, and challenge eventually becomes growth. The goal isn't to live without tension, it's to live in the right tension, where your effort stretches you but doesn't break you. 4. The moral consequence. Morality emerges naturally from coherence. A lie increases social prediction error. A broken promise fractures temporal alignment. Exploitation destabilizes the environment that sustains you. Virtue, then, is not arbitrary. It's behavior that keeps the system stable. Truth, courage, discipline, compassion, each reduces error across scales. Immorality isn't evil energy. It's system-level incoherence acting in ways that make your world less predictable, less trustworthy, less whole. When you violate coherence long enough, entropy wins. When you restore it, life reorganizes itself around truth. 5. Emotion as measurement. Your emotions are not enemies. They're diagnostic instruments. Anxiety measures uncertainty about the future. Guilt measures misalignment between value and action. Shame measures collapse of self-model. Anger measures violation of fairness. Grief measures loss of coherence that cannot be repaired. When you treat emotion as signal instead of shame, you gain feedback instead of fear. Each feeling points to a type of error to repair. Follow the signal, fix the structure. 6. Truth as the repair mechanism. Every system needs a way to correct its course. For human beings, that mechanism is truth. Truth realigns prediction with reality. It closes the gap between map and territory. It makes you coherent again. This is why honesty feels cleansing. You're no longer running multiple models of reality. Your mind can rest. Truth doesn't always make life easier, but it always makes it clearer. And clarity is the beginning of peace. 7. The hierarchy of coherence. Coherence builds upward like a pyramid. At the base is self-coherence, your integrity. Next is relational coherence, your trust network. Above that is communal coherence, shared norms and justice. At the top is cosmic coherence, the sense that reality itself is meaningful. Break the lower layers and the higher collapse. Repair the lower, and the upper can stand again. Your task is to maintain balance across all four. Not perfection, balance. 8. The equation restated. Coherence equals alignment across time plus alignment across people plus alignment with reality minus prediction error. When any term weakens, suffering rises. When all strengthen together, flourishing appears. This is the structure of meaning itself. It's not mystical, it's mathematical, and mercifully human. Because it means there is always a way back. Repair what's broken, update what's false, realign what's scattered, and coherence will return. 9. The invitation. You don't need to master equations to live this. You already do it every time you tell the truth, keep a promise, or forgive. Each act of alignment repairs the world a little. Each restoration of trust reduces entropy. The universe rewards coherence with peace. Not comfort, but clarity. Not safety, but strength. The pattern isn't about perfection. It's about returning again and again to what is true. That's the work. That's the way.